Today in our 2014 Ram 2500, we're going to take a look at and show you how to install the Westin PRO TRAXX 4-inch Oval Nerf Bars. These are the black powder-coated steel finish. Part number is 21-23565. Now if you're looking for Nerf bars for your truck, you probably have one of a couple needs. Either like what we have here. It's a pretty long step to get right up into the vehicle, so this is going to give us some assistance getting in and getting out. Or you just want to improve the looks and the quality of your truck. These are going to fit the bill really well for both purposes. Of course, they're going to give us a step and help us in and out, but they've got the full cab length design, which is really going to complement a lot of vehicles. And the quality black powder coat finish that's going to completely encase our tube step is really going to give it a nice touch. It's made to blend whether you've got a higher line truck or maybe just a basic trim package. The black's going to complement both of those very well. Now our step pads are going to be 4 inches wide, so as you can see they're going to completely cover the 4-inch oval steps that we've got. And you can see the traction that they've built in here. There are a lot of surfaces for your boots or shoes to grip on. Unlike some of the older styles of tube steps that they've created, these are going to give you the traction to get in and out without sliding or slipping on them. These are designed of a material that are going to be UV resistant, so we're not going to have to worry about sun fade. And they're going to stand up to a lot of the elements or the things we're going to encounter on the road, whether it's going to be salt, grease, oil, gas, things like that. We're not going to have to worry about these deteriorating and coming in contact with that. Now the ends on our steps are going to turn in towards the body. It gives them a good streamlined look. And something that I really appreciate is that the caps are completely enclosed. There's no plastic little plug that goes on the end. That prevents moisture from getting inside the step. If you guys remember the older style tube steps that were steel, typically they'd rust from the inside out. Water would get trapped inside and you'd see rust and bubbles and the bottom of them would just be gone. They've gotten rid of that problem, completely eliminated by sealing both ends so we don't have any moisture at all inside. Our steps are also going to be directly underneath the door where we're going to need them the most. In some tube steps like this, they don't quite think that out as well, and you might have your front pad back a little bit too far, or the back pad might be up a little bit too far. Westin really thought it out, puts it right where we're going to need it for getting in and out. Now something else that's really nice about the steps, if your brackets are visible, depending on your application, the way they mount kind of changes. But if your brackets are really visible and if they're going to be something that stands out, we've got these nice plastic Westin covers that go right over. It's going to offer us a really nice clean look. Now we're going to begin our installation by showing you how to get the 2 nut zerts that you're going to need into the rail up here if you don't already have it on your truck. There will be a couple different variations. Some will already have threaded holes here. If yours don't have the threaded holes, you'll want to follow this procedure to get them in place. Now we'll be putting our nut zert in both of these holes, one here and one here. For this front corner, we're going to be using the bracket labeled C. It's different than the other 5 brackets that we have. So we just want to give you a brief rundown on how to get these installed. So you can see we've got we call this a nut plate. It's got an M10 bolt and an M8 nut on it. This is going to be for temporary use only. Let's place that in, just like that. This plastic keeper is designed to keep that from falling in. Then we're going to take one of our brackets. Now you'll want to choose either bracket labeled A or B. This isn't going to be permanently attached, so it doesn't matter too much right now. But we're going to place that over the bolt. You can see the top hole is going to go over the bolt on that plate. And then we just want to put a nut on there to hold it. Again, this is all kind of temporary except for our nut zerts. Now we're going to take our nut zert, we're going to place it in the hole, place our bracket over the top of it, and I like to start one of my M8 nuts right now. I'm just going to thread that right into that insert. Then on the back side, we're going to use that M8 nut that's attached to our bolt, and we'll thread one of our M8 bolts into it. Now we'll grab a 13 millimeter, and I'm going to tighten this rear bolt down just a little bit. Just see how that bracket's pretty firm now. That's going to hold this in place while we get that nut zert to expand. You're going to feel a little bit of tension, and then you'll feel a point to where it starts to get more and more difficult to turn. That's going to mean that nut zert's fully expanded, so we'll go about a quarter turn from there. Then we can remove that bolt. Now we need to remove the bolt that we had in the back here. We're going to loosely thread in that into the forward hole. Now we need to place one of our nut zerts in the rear hole. Thread our bolt in and just get it started for now. And now we'll tighten up the forward bolt and the nut on top. Just want these, again, secure enough to hold our bracket nice and solid. Alright, now with both of those expanded, we're going to pull both the bolts out. Take our nut off the top there, and we're going to pull it out as well, the whole nut plate. Alright, here you can see our two inserts ready for our bracket. Now we want to grab our C bracket. There's only going to be one in the kit, stamped C, the other ones are going to be stamped B or A. We're going to bring that up, and the two oblong holes on this flange here are going to match up with the two nut zerts we just inserted. Get our bolts threaded back in there. Now when you do this, you want to have a flat washer and a lock washer in place. Just hand tight for now is just fine. Now we need to grab the smaller of our button head screws. Now on those you want to place a flat washer, then they'll come through the holes in this pinch weld. On the back side we'll thread on one of our small flange nuts. We'll do that for the rear location here too. Alright, that'll take care of this one. Just leave it loosely installed for now. We can move back to the next position. Now our next position is going to be right down from where the two doors meet in the middle there. Looks very similar to what it did in the front. We've got our oblong hole, which may or may not be covered with tape. And then our two hex-shaped holes below that. Nut plate. We get that in. We can line it up with either side that we want, either here or here. We'll just let it stay lined up with that back hole. Place our nut zert in the front hole. Now for this location, we're going to be using bracket A. So we'll place that over. Place on our flat washer, our lock washer, and a nut. Now just like we did on that front bracket, the next thing I'm going to do is line up the nut plate with the hole and thread in one of our M8 bolts. Now we'll get our bolt started in our nut zert there. Now we'll slightly tighten down the bolt that we've got in the plate, just like we did in the front. That's just to secure our bracket, hold it in position. Then we'll begin to tighten down that forward nut to expand that insert. Once that's expanded, we want to loosen up all the hardware here. That way our bracket still has some adjustability. That'll allow us to make sure it's level and positioned properly when we put our step on. Now we're going to do this exact same thing in the rear location. We're going to use bracket B there instead of A. Now for the passenger side, we're going to kind of repeat the same process that we did on the driver's side, but it's going to be a little bit easier over here. For your front location, you're going to use bracket B And you're going to use the same installation process that we use for the back two over on the driver's side. We'll be using our bolt and nut plate for 2 of our attachment points and a single nut insert. Now coming back, our middle bracket is going to be bracket B, same mounting style. And the rear bracket, it's going to be bracket A, again with that same style, using the bolt and nut plate and 1 nut zert. Now each of our brackets is going to have a cover that goes on it. They're universal. Well, I have 6 of them. We need to put 1 on each of our brackets that come down. We're going to use the 2 holes here to install them. 1 here and here. And those are going to line up typically with the inner 2 holes on the back side there. You may have to use the outer holes, just depends on how it conforms to your vehicle. We'll slide that down and over. Continue to rotate it up into position until our holes line up. Place one of our small hex bolts with the flat washer through. Then on the back side, we're going to add another flat washer and a nylon lock nut. And we want to do the same thing for our lower hole location as well. Once we have this one loosely installed, we want to go to the remaining 5 brackets and do the exact same thing there. Now we're ready to get our tube steps put in place. Remember, we do have our brackets still just finger tight. And there's going to be from the end of the pad to the end of the bar in the rear, it's going to be longer than what it is in the front. They're also labeled driver's and passenger side, but if you overlook that, that's a good way to identify. We're going to have 2 nut inserts on the bottom of the tube step at each bracket location. So we're going to bring those up, place the step on our brackets. Then we've got our larger button head screws. We're going to put a serrated lock washer and flat washer on there. Then we're going to thread 2 in at each bracket location. Now we're going to start tightening our steps down. We're going to start with the attachment points where the brackets meet the truck. For our M8 bolts, we want a 13mm socket. Now for the M10 bolt with the nut on it, we want a 16mm. Now for the small button head screws we have here, for the nut we need a 10mm and a 4mm for the head. Now you want to be sure to torque them to the specifications that you find in your instructions. Now with our frame brackets secure and torqued, it's time for us to set our step here. Now the holes are elongated, so we can kind of rotate this out or in. So we just want to be sure this is going to match our truck. We want it to be nice and level. Looks like that matches out really well there. We're going to use now a 6mm hex bit. We'll start securing these down. I like to get one nice and secure. That's going to hold our position. Then we'll go through and tighten down the other 5. Now we want to get these torqued down to the specifications in our instructions as well. Now we're going to position our covers where we want them. You just kind of want to bring them up and out towards the step. And then we can use a couple of 10mm wrenches to get these tightened down. Now with these, we just need to tighten these up so they won't move. We've got nylon lock nuts on the outside, so we won't have to worry about them loosening up. If you tighten them up, if they happen to move around a little bit while you're driving, just tighten them up just a little bit more. You can see that's going to cover up that bracket, give us a really nice finished look. Now with this side taken care of, we're going to head over to the passenger side. And basically we'll just repeat the same processes. Start by torquing down our frame brackets, our steps, then our covers. Now with everything tightened down properly, that's going to complete our installation of the Westin PRO TRAXX 4-inch oval Nerf.
Thanks for watching. Click the link in our description below to shop, learn more, or visit us at etrailer.com. And leave us a comment if you have any questions.